A cancelled Ontario elementary school teacher has announced a major victory in her legal battle with the Waterloo Region District School Board, who attempted to weaponize legislation to try to silence her. Tamara Ugolini here with Rebel News, featuring a major win for cancelled elementary school teacher Carolyn Burzowski. A judge ruled on November 23rd that her defamation lawsuit against her former school board, that's the Waterloo Region District School Board, or WRDSB, could proceed after the board attempted to weaponize anti-SLAPP legislation to prevent her case from proceeding. As a recap, Burzowski was first expelled from a board meeting on January 17, 2022, when she presented excerpts from some of the books found in her school's library. WRDSB chairperson Scott Piaotsky interrupted her presentation and claimed that she was discriminating against gender identity and gender expression. Decide for yourselves here if she was being discriminatory. Have a listen to the now scrubbed public board meeting.
My name is Carolyn Burzowski, and I've been teaching English to new Canadians in this school board for over 20 years. Like most teachers, I focus on my own classroom, and I don't pay close attention to what's happening at the Ed Center. However, I'm becoming increasingly concerned with the decisions that are being made at this level, and that's what brings me here tonight. A recent Record article reported on the school board's intent to cull both the libraries and teachers' personal collections of books deemed harmful. This culling was already underway at the time the article was written, yet the board could not answer the reporter's request for the criteria being used, nor how the team was chosen. No information was shared with teachers about the philosophy by which our personal collections would be judged. In the same article, a senior leader said he was proud of the new diverse books that the board had already purchased. On November 8th, we received a memo in which the board listed criteria for removing books. For example, a book that is misleading might be removed. Well, that sounds perfectly reasonable. A case could be made that some of your new diverse materials are indeed misleading. We teachers received a long list of books and resources for Transgender Awareness Week. Some of these books are a positive addition because they show diverse families and represent a variety of ethnicities. However, I am very concerned that some of the resources in our elementary school libraries are inappropriate for young children. The resources that I am now showing are all in K-6 libraries. In the book Rick by Alex Gino, a boy named Jeff keeps talking to Rick about naked girls. Rick is confused because he doesn't think about naked girls, so he wonders if something's wrong with him. Rick gets invited to the school's Rainbow Club, and he ends up declaring an asexual identity. While reading this book, I was thinking, maybe Rick doesn't have sexual feelings yet because he is a child. It concerns me that this book leaves young boys wondering if there is something wrong with them if they aren't thinking about naked girls all the time. Well, so what message does this book send to young girls who might be in grade 3, 4? They are children. Let them grow up in their own time and stop pressuring them to be sexual so soon. In fact, some of the books filling our libraries make it seem simple or even cool to take puberty blockers and opposite sex hormones. The Other Boy by M.G. Hennessy.
Ms. Burzowski, I'm just getting a little concerned that your content may be problematic. I'm not sure exactly where you're headed, but I would caution you to make sure that you are not saying anything that would violate the Human Rights Code.
Oh, I'm not saying anything that would violate.
I'm just concerned, so please continue. That will not count against your time.
I hope that that I can be heard because these are misleading books, and I'd like to tell you why. The other book by M.G. Hennessy chronicles the medical transition of Shane, who was born female and now identifies as a boy. Shane takes puberty blockers and is now excited to start testosterone. The doctor states that this hormone mixture will leave Shane infertile in the future. Shane's response is, "It's cool," a very typical adolescent response. This book is misleading because it does not take into account how Shane might feel later in life about being infertile. This book makes very serious medical interventions seem like an easy cure for emotional and social distress. And
Okay.
remember,
So I'm going to have to
Point
stop.
of order. Point of order.
I'm going to point out that the Ontario Human Rights Code includes gender identity and gender expression
Yes.
as prohibited grounds for discrimination, and I'm concerned that your comments are in violation of that. So I'm ending your presentation.
No, you're not.
Point of order.
Brzezinski held true to her conviction that parents have a right to know what materials are available to their children in publicly funded schools and how the concepts of gender ideology and gender identity is being taught. But Brzezinski was ordered to stay home and barred from interacting with students and colleagues. The board then filed a formal complaint against her and hired an outside firm to launch a disciplinary investigation against her. On her website, Brzezinski believes that this incident exposed a serious problem in how school boards are using language and human rights legislation as weapons to intimidate and silence anyone who questions their policies, to intimidate dissenters and inhibit free speech. As a result, Brzezinski requested the board publicly apologize to her for putting words in her mouth and framing her benign presentation that was concerned about the increasing sexualization of innocent children as hateful. When the board refused, Brzezinski filed a $1.75 million defamation claim with the Ontario Superior Court of Justice against the WRSDB and Chair Piatsky in April of 2022. In September of 2023, the board filed an anti-SLAPP motion. SLAPP stands for Strategic Lawsuits Against Public Participation and is legislation meant to protect individuals from wealthy, endlessly resourced strategic lawsuits intended to silence them from moving forward judicially. It's legislation meant to protect the little guy from the conglomerates, and yet here it was being weaponized and perverted by the Waterloo Region District School Board and its chair, Scott Piatsky. But here's where the win comes in and Piatsky's embarrassment begins. Justice Ramsey dismissed this twisted legal maneuver and condemned the board's conduct. Have a listen to Brzezinski's update from November 27th.
Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to announce my first major victory in my legal battle with the Waterloo Region District School Board. But first, let me recap the events that caused me to sue the school board. On January 17, 2022, I voiced concerns about inappropriate sexual content in my elementary school library. Despite 2 decades of teaching experience, I was abruptly silenced by the chair, falsely accused of breaching the Human Rights Code, and publicly vilified as a promoter of hate speech. In response, I filed a judicial review and a defamation lawsuit against the board to clear my name, protect vulnerable children, and defend free expression. The judicial review was heard in June, and we're still waiting for that decision. In September, while the defamation lawsuit was in progress, the board filed an anti-SLAPP motion asking the court to dismiss my lawsuit. Ironically, the board claimed that I was trying to suppress their free speech. We devoted many hours preparing to respond to this absurd anti-SLAPP motion, culminating in a Superior Court hearing on November 22nd. I am overjoyed to report that the judge dismissed the board's motion, allowing my defamation lawsuit to proceed. In his written decision, Justice Ramsey affirmed that I did not breach the Human Rights Code, nor did I engage in hate speech. He was highly critical of the board's conduct, stating that their actions were defamatory and that my case has substantial merit. This victory is a resounding affirmation of free expression. In his written decision, Justice Ramsey said, "The Human Rights Code does not prohibit public discussion of anything. I find it regrettable that the defendant, who is trying to shut down debate, is an arm of the government. What happened here should not happen in a democratic society." To enjoy the full details of Justice Ramsey's decision, please visit canceledteacher.com. In closing, this victory is just one step in a longer journey. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to my campaign so far. This is our victory.
This ridiculous democratic oppression by the school board highlights the authoritarian culture proliferating Ontario schools, which have extreme contempt for dissent. This ruling shone a light on the board's weaponization of the law and human rights code and necessitates a fulsome review of the processes involved in approving certain curriculum and library-housed materials. Parents and students deserve better, and they deserve responsible leadership from those tasked with teaching our children, not weaponization and unfettered ideological adherence. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. This kind of perverted content is proliferating in Canadian schools from coast to coast to coast. And if you aren't familiar with it, then you can visit stopclassroomgrooming.com to find an array of reports on this very subject. From school boards soliciting the gender identity and even sexual preferences and orientation of minors, sometimes without parental knowledge or consent, to the increasingly sexualized interpretations of radical gender ideology in the classroom. You can find all of that and probably more at stopclassroomgrooming.com.
Mr. Chair, also, that's a point of order. The delegation is sharing information that CSHES is in our schools. I think that's a stretch to say violation of the Human Rights Code for her to share what is, I believe, unless the director thinks it's not factually correct that these books are in our school, I think the speaker should be allowed to continue.
Yes.